Live. Hey everybody, you good? See what I did there? No. Well, how many real Angela Bassett fans do we have out there? Angela usually starts her social media post off with, "Hey everybody, you good?" I think it's an important question because we always ask, "How are you?" But do we really take the time to listen to someone when they tell us how they are? So, welcome to the one person here so far. But for everyone else, I want to know how you're feeling. And when we say, "Are you good?" we don't always tell exactly how we are. And are we actually being honest with how we're feeling? I'll admit, I'm known to say I'm great or I'm good real quick. And that's just not to have to go into all the bull that be going on in my life. But being honest with ourselves and others is something that I'm working on. And if you didn't know, I'm Eddie, and I'm the host of the Southern Gent Presents Here I Am. And thank you for joining me. In the comments, I always ask people where they're watching from. So if you're in a different city, if you're in a different country, tell me that too, because a bitch might be international. So definitely let me know where you're watching from. On the last episode, I talked with David and Obi about vulnerability. Since episode one, I've actually been forced to deal with my own vulnerability and recognize when I'm feeling sensitive or emotional. Our own emotional intelligence is something that we can master and identify those techniques to help us on our daily journey. But how do we get to that place, Eddie? I know. I ain't got all the answers, but I do know that self-care must be a priority for us to refill all that we give to the world, all that we give to our friends, coworkers, families, our significant others, and our insignificant others. And when I think about self-care, I couldn't think of one better person to bring on than my illustrious guest today. My guest is none other than Aisha Moore, the founder of Self Care by Aisha and the creator of the Self Care Planning in 10 Steps workbook, as well as the Self Care Bill of Rights. Aisha, thank you for joining me this evening. How the heck are you?
I'm good, Eddie, right? Because you said I'm good. Yeah, I am good. Thank you so much for inviting me here because it's a great day because it's September 1st and September is Self Care Awareness Day. So we're going to talk about getting aware.
We're going to be aware. And I see we have Memphis in the building. Actually, I'm in West Memphis, Arisha, so hit me up. We can definitely do some like social distancing stuff. But yes, Aisha, let's jump right into it, okay?
Okay.
So you've gone all over talking about self-care, podcasts, workshops, keynote addresses, and you talk about one of your defining moments as the day you were wheeled out of the office on a stretcher due to passing out. Then after several tests, it was determined that the cause of your symptoms were burnout, anxiety, and being overwhelmed. I'm also a survivor of, I say survivor of burnout, and I speak openly about the health problems that came with it. In 2015, I had like an emergency surgery and had to be placed on antidepressants to assist with a PTSD diagnosis. When I was like, that's the stuff the army people get, but it's real. And it taught me that our bodies take score of what goes on with it. And at the end of the day, our bodies are going to win. So why is it so important that we recognize the signs of burnout and what are some of those signs?
Yes. So I was taken out on a stretcher from the office because I was in denial because I had a certain concept of what a stressed out person looked like, or maybe a person who's having a panic attack. I thought they're gonna, be walking around talking to themselves, falling on the floor, all this stuff. But it didn't really look like that. So for me, I just remember one experience where we were getting our house renovated. House 40 years old, shag grandma carpet, everything in that, that brown orange, right? And we need to fix it up. And so, I was taking all these trips to IKEA, and then the last one that I had to take because they had something on sale, so I had to get there for sale, right? So, but that's important. Like I was rushing to get there before the sale, and excuse me, ma'am, why don't put your cart so close to me? Can y'all turn on the air? The air. It's kind of hot in here. Ooh, you two, you are a little bit too close. Why am I the only hot person? Why am I the only one sweating profusely? Okay, well, maybe I need to just go take a moment and, hit up these meatballs over here at IKEA, give me a snack. Waiting in line for the snack. You 10-year-old boy, you too close too. And hurry up and order your stuff. And that was the day that I realized I had a full-blown panic attack. Well, I didn't realize it that day, but that moment in IKEA, I was just like, why can't I be happy and look at this cute furniture and just order what I need and go? It like, I just felt like I needed to sit down on the ground. And that was the only thing that was going to help. So, IKEA has nice couches, so I'd have to sit on the ground.
Yeah.
Couches.
Sit on the nice couch.
So I didn't buy anything. And then the next day, I went straight to work because it was like, well, I just wasn't feeling well. Oh, it's humid in DC today, kind of thing. And then the next day is when I went to work and the same thing happened. So I got wheeled out on the stretcher. So that was when it kind of all broke down, right? But there were so many signs before that. If I had just known the signs, losing my appetite. I love to eat. Like if I'm losing my appetite, there is something wrong, right?
Right.
Losing my appetite. Generally, every Monday morning, for those of us with those Monday through Friday 9 to 5, my stomach would be hurting really badly. Saturday and Sunday, I was kicking it. But Monday morning would come and I would just feel a rush of acid to my stomach. One of a person that we know, nice little, woman, and I was snapping at her. She's like the nicest person ever. She knits hats for babies. Like she's a nice person, and I was like snapping at her. Right? She's like my mother. She's like my East Coast like auntie mom, and I'm like giving her attitude. So those are some of the sort of the physical manifestations. But then there's a whole other thing that all of us miss. I want to know from everybody right now, do you know where your keys are? If you had to go somewhere right now, could you just get up and go? Or would you be spending 20 minutes looking for your keys? And so back in pre-Rona times, a lot of us spent mornings looking for keys, waking up, looking through the laundry basket like, wait, is this the clean laundry basket or the dirty laundry basket? I am not sure, right?
Sure.
Right. That kind of thing. And so before we get out the door, we've had a whole couple hours of hot mess. And then we go straight into, if you have a stressful job or if something unexpected happens, we spend all that, time in the morning being a hot mess. And so now we're already stressed before we even get to the external stresses. And so, I'm losing my keys on the train, or like I'm getting to the train and I know the train's coming in 3 minutes, but then I swipe my card, it's not no money on it. So now I got to go to the thing, the money on it, hustle, bustle. So I really feel like if you're hurried, overwhelmed, and tired, that makes every day super stressful, a hot mess.
Yes, definitely. So Jasmine has her keys on the key holder. She said she had to buy one. She's probably like me, but she has taken the extra step to buy a key holder. I don't have my keys on the key holder. So look, I would definitely be making a new purchase. Maybe I go to IKEA. You never know.
I'll go sometimes just to make sure I'm still okay.
No extra. And so, as you know, we're multifaceted beings, and there have been so many times where I found myself juggling problem after problem, and more times than not, those problems didn't wait until the first one was resolved. What is your advice for someone having to deal with multiple problems at the same time in their life?
Yeah. So yesterday I actually heard somebody say something. So I'm just going to steal this from Miss Natalie Burke. When you have so many balls in the air, something's going to drop, but you don't want to drop the glass balls. You want to drop the rubber balls that bounce.
Ooh.
Isn't she good? That Natalie Burke. She's right. So I think that's what we have to think of. So like, what is the thing that's going to make that if we don't take care of that, it's all going to fall apart? Versus the things like, okay, I need to take care of that, but I got a little bandwidth before that gets too bad. And I think it just depends on each person where you were. So for me, I needed to focus on first, I had to focus on my mental health because at the time, so after the whole IKEA incident, I ended up on short-term disability. And so I am not independently wealthy. So I had to figure out how to get back to work to get this paycheck.
Yeah, get the coins.
Right. So I had to work on my mental health first because I just literally needed to be able to get back to the office. Because once they saw me fall apart, they're like, you need to come to work every day because somebody needs to lay eyes on you to make sure you're okay. Right. And so I literally just started with, okay, so what can I do to get to the desk? Not do work, not do amazing work. I need to just get to the desk, stay there all day for 8 hours and go home. For a couple of weeks, the first couple of weeks, it was just go and stay there. Don't leave with the stomach ache. Go stay there. Don't leave with a headache kind of thing. Go. Don't. You're not going to pass out. You haven't actually passed out, but you feel like you are, right? So for me, it was like literally for 2-3 hours in the morning before I went to work, I would just put on a playlist. It had Hezekiah, Christina Aguilera, Kendrick Lamar. It had some of everybody, but what's her name? You Can't Get to Know Better Days. I can't think of her name. Unless you make it through the night, Old School, like everything, because I just literally had to believe that it was going to be okay. I had to teach myself to believe that it was going to be okay. That these moments, even though they have been going on for like 6 months to 9 months, like there was something to look forward to. And so I had to just try. And so I think that's one good thing to do is to visualize what you want. Because when I was visualizing what I didn't want, I would just stay there stuck. Even though that thing wasn't actually happening, I'm laying in the bed like, oh no, I'm gonna pass out. Fool, you're in the bed. You can't. I suppose you can pass out in your bed, but you already laid it down. And so I had to visualize. Okay, so if you go stand in the CVS pharmacy line, it's gonna be okay. And if you do pass out, there's people that work there.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's really dope because. That's also, I love that the ball, like you want to drop the rubber ball. And so for me, it's always prioritizing. I'm like a list person. So I prioritize based on the SMART goals in my life. So how is this goal or how is this problem going to work with my goals? And if I can work on this at the same time, which problem can I handle? Which one has other people tied to it? So it's like it's a science, but it works for me. So I got that one on there. But people are so busy these days. What advice would you give to someone that says that they don't have time for self-care?
Yeah. So you kind of like alluded to my answer already, Eddie, with this having a vision, right? And when you make a decision to do or not do something, the question is that decision moving you away from or towards your goals? So and so that's the first thing, right? But then I said goals, plural. A lot of us have a singular goal. So how I ended up in all this mess in the first place was because I wanted to be a manager because that's what the world said was next for me. Been doing, I was like 10 years into my career. And so it seemed like I should be in management or I should supervise people. Did I know how to do that? I just assumed it was intuitive that, sure, I can manage people. Sure, I can take on more complex things, right? But so I'm running around here, manager, and I manifest a communications director position without an interview. Somebody called me. So of course I'm running around like, won't he do it, right? But that was all. It was like this title. I didn't say how many people I want to manage and what kind of environment, who am I reporting to above me? How do they manage me? I didn't have any of these descriptors. I just wanted to be a manager. And so then when I was like, I jumped over manager to director, right? So like, this must be it. And so I manifested, and I feel like we manifest oftentimes what we want, but then we don't prepare for it, right? And so I didn't prepare for it. And so as a result, if I had prepared for it and thought through it, I would have been like, things are going to get more complex in my life. Maybe I need to take some things off my plate. So I had a job and I was the president of one board the secretary of another nonprofit board, and volunteering some other time. So essentially, I had 5 jobs. But when this whole time I just was wanting to be a manager, it never occurred to me to look and say, okay, if you're going to be a manager and have more demands on you, then some of these other things you have to edit out. So that's the first thing. It's like, okay, you need to edit out some things and you can make some time for self-care. And then because this job was so complex, the nature of the job was one that, people called me and texted me and whatever, whenever they wanted to, because I hadn't set any boundaries. And so if I was going to accept that complexity, then it was like, okay, well, with that complexity, you got to take care of yourself so I can have the bandwidth to be that superstar, right? Like I can do it. That's not the question. It is, you have the energy to do it. You have the time to do it. And a lot of times we're not fueling ourselves with self-care. And when I say self-care, I'm not talking about manicures, pedicures, spa days. I'm talking about getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, because I was dehydrated. I thought I was Michael Jackson. I was going to the ER for some damn fluids. Water, people, just water. You don't need no fluids. You don't need no IV bag. Drink water, right? So I was, you make things so complex. And what I realize now is that if without the self-care, then I was just doing so many things to deplete myself, and I was never putting in the gas. I was never getting the oil change, right? So your car will run for a long time without that maintenance, but then the ride gets rougher and eventually it breaks down. And so, not practicing self-care is sort of like having a car and we look fly, we wash the car on the outside, but we never change the wipers. We never do the oil change, transmission fluid, always running on E in terms of the gas tank. And so the car will go, right? But that car is not like optimized. And eventually it's going to just, be limping on the side of the road. And that's exactly what happens to us when we don't take time for self-care. Because I think people think it's going to be a setback, especially for those who are very career-oriented, who think it's going to be a setback. But to me, it is the secret. It is the secret to how to be more successful. Because you're going to be the one showing up in the room well-rested. You're going to have better ideas. You're going to be sharper. You're going to make less mistakes. So self-care is not a setback. It is the secret to success.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm about to shout right now. Okay. These are some nuggets. I hope you guys and gals are paying attention because, I'm feeling it. So a lot of things have happened even recently. The passing of Chadwick Boseman, the murder of Breonna Taylor, all of the issues with Jacob Blake, Elijah McClain, all the list goes on. And when I'm not feeling my best, I tend to seclude myself and go into extra security mode, kind of like a turtle in its shell. And I find comfort in protecting that energy and sanity until I get back to a place of balance and stability. I do that by reflecting on like situations, on my thoughts, my own actions and my reactions, but I don't let it sit there until I just wallow in it. So how are you when you're not feeling your best, and what do you do to get out of that place?
Yeah, so every day, up until like recently, when I wake up my eyes, I'm like, how do you feel? Because that determines what my next step is going to be. So depending on how I feel, then it's like, okay, I'm feeling a little frazzled. Okay, so then let's meditate. Or I'm feeling, worried and anxious about something. Okay, let's journal, kind of thing. Or I'm feeling good, so let's feel even better and let's go dance around. So right now I have this little album that I discovered. It's by these gentlemen their names are Chris and Teeb, Teeb, and they're like super producers for like J-Lo and Cassie and all these people, but they made an album called The Manifestation. So I changed my, I don't really do the alarm thing, but like at the time when I need to know, I know I need to get up, I have my phone go off and they have a song called Wake Up. And it starts out, I wake up every day feeling good. It's like a trap manifestations. I wake up every day feeling good. So, I try to like manifest that as soon as I wake up. And if I'm not feeling good, I try to make myself feel better before I start to do any real thing. So that's one. Two, at this point, we don't need to read the news first thing in the morning. I need to do something positive, something before we go hit the news, because the news will just send you into a cycle. It's very American, and I don't know, I don't know what goes on in the rest of the world, to wake up and either read or watch the news and do that before you go to bed. Those are probably the worst times to do it. If you feel like I feel like I need to be knowledgeable and tuned in somewhat, but I recommend not doing that like when you first wake up or right before you go to bed. But that's when everybody does it. But like, make that a noon thing if you're going to do it, or read some news summaries, that kind of thing. Go straight to a certain publication that you know are credible, because half the time what's triggering you is not like a real credible publication. It's some wild headline on Facebook that's triggering you, and you might, and it might be fake, but it just triggers you because it's more brain power to sift through the truth, the hyperbole, the satire and all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to be informed, but we don't have to be watching the news all day, every day, and definitely not first thing and right before you go to bed. I think it just gets too much in your subconscious to do that. So those are the first two. When you wake up, just start on this engine to feel good. Put the gas in your tank. Watch what you need to do with the news, and then I would say third is just find that other person that can listen to you, or like kind of be in community, especially if you can get to a place where you can laugh. Like, I realize that if I'm it's hard to laugh and be sad at the same time. You might go back to it after the laughter, but I just found that the laughter really helps. I've been seeing that there's been some online comedy shows that I've been privileged to be able to attend and things of that nature, right from my couch, and so that helps to kind of take your mind off of it. And then fourth, I would say, if you can't get out to the protest lines or whatever, donate, because most organizations because I've been on a lot of nonprofit boards, done my share of protesting over the days. I was the person who would leave work, bike to the White House, go protest something, and get back on my bike. That's what happened. So familiar with that protest life, part of the burnout story. Too much protesting. But those organizations need money too. So go ahead and chop a few coins, put it in your budget to help some organizations out if you can't get to the protest lines.
Yes, definitely. Some good tips. I can think back on a time where I was the first person that a lot of people would call with their problems. And it was difficult for me to say no sometimes until I set clear boundaries with myself. People started to think that I was acting funny or nonchalant when I couldn't drop those nuggets of bootleg wisdom or up to that event. And I started to believe that I was being selfish with others by not sharing myself. In a video, you talk about not conflating self-care as selfishness. Can you tell us a little bit more about that concept?
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that I have this thing called the self-care bill of rights. And that comes from that very situation. Somebody that I used to do a lot of protest and activist work with was basically, when I started to feel better and I decided not to get back on Front Street again, they were like, "Oh, you're being selfish. The world needs you. We need to do the revolution. The revolution can't happen without you." And I'm like, okay. And from that day, I was like, that person really doesn't give a F about my health. Like, I get that there are big issues, but like, me on a personal level, I need my health, right? I need to be alive. I need to be okay. I don't need to be scared to get out of the bed and, going to all these doctor's appointments. Like, that's just not healthy. And so that's really where that Bill of Rights came from. I had to set some guidelines for myself of, I have the right to serve this world in a way that makes me comfortable, and have a right to these boundaries. Because I think sometimes we put ourselves in certain roles. For a while, I had decided I was a mediator between my two sisters, and then my therapist told me I didn't have to do that. Thank her. But then I did in that role, and so I called each one of them and said, "I want to change my relationship with you." That's not how I said it. That's a nice way. "I want to change my relationship with you. When we talk, I want it to be more positive. I don't want it to be a lot of gossip and things of that nature." So I had to had those conversations. And those conversations are not easy a lot of times. They're hard. But again, back to my first point of your vision, right? If
Mm-hmm.
if these draining relationships are standing in the way of you being your best self or standing from your vision, then what is the point, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think, and it's like, okay, so, and do you have it to give? Because oftentimes we don't assess what we have to give. We keep giving and giving, giving, like, oh, now we're in the negative. And it's just like when your bank account is overdrawn, there's fees, right? So that those are monetary fees, but we pay fees on our side when we let other people, or we decide to let other people drain us or give away more than we have. Those fees come in the crankiness. They come in, maybe relationships becoming a little broken. They come in not being able to communicate as well, right? And so I think we don't want to pay all those fees, so we have to have those conversations so we can say yes, but not right now, or no, right? Or yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I only have 10 minutes,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it doesn't always have to be a no. Or it could be like, okay, I can't talk when I text me and I'll send you a quick voice memo back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's other ways to do it, because a lot of times we do want to give it. It's not that we don't want to give it, it's just that we don't
Yeah.
have it to give, right? And so I think we have to train people, like, just like you don't always have it to give, I don't, like, it's not a renew. It's like this energy is not just like completely renewable source. We have to cultivate it, right? And so I think it's important to have those conversations, or cut them. Some people you have to just cut out because they just, they're old dog that can't be taught new tricks. So you just gotta put them aside.
Take old Yeller out. Okay.
Yeah, they
So
had their season in your life, and their season is done.
season is done. They have been seasoned, are ready to be taken on through. Okay. So what was the moment that, like, what made you want to extend your lessons learned and create self-care by Aisha? What was the moment that you knew that you had like all of these like words of wisdom and just, hey, shout moments?
Yeah, I think first it was that. So I've had little blogs and different things since the year 2000. I don't know what
Mhm.
happened to my dating in Boston blog from back in the day. Those stories were hilarious. So I always have been naturally inclined to be a storyteller. And so as my journey went on, people started to kind of find out what was going on with me, because I wasn't so public at first, because I didn't want to basically tell people I had unraveled and had a breakdown. Like, a few people knew, but everybody else just thought I was pregnant. And that's why my stomach was hurting all the time and I was nauseous. So that's the thing, ladies, you know, sometimes the signs of burnout can mimic the sign of pregnancy. So, just know that you might be burned out, you might be pregnant. I'm not sure. I don't know which one it is, right? Anyway, but people notice the benefits of my self-care, right? So that's what I want to be clear about, the benefits. People noticed that I was more fun to be around, that I was available to be around. I wasn't declining as many invites to things. I learned to laugh and smile again. For a while there, I had closed up. I was so focused on work, not being responsive to people. So people just saw me sort of sprout up again and saw that I was different, interacting different. And so people asked me, "What are you doing? Seems like you made some sort of transformation." So I would just write. So I kept writing emails or texting people, and finally, it was like, okay, start a blog on this too, because this one-on-one texting thing's not working. So I started to kind of document some of the tools and things that I was doing so that people could have a space to read these things. And then one of our mutual friends, Miko, around the same time, I felt like something would ground me would be and to get closer to some sort of spiritual practice, but I was not ready to go back, like everyday Christianity wasn't necessarily attractive to me. And so on one New Year's Eve, a friend of mine this lesbian woman. She was at this church, and I was like, "Well, if she likes this church, I think I might like it too, because I know she's not here for the BS, for these like hellfire, brimstone, not inclusive churches, right?" So that was the key. I was like, "Aha! It must be affirming and accepting if she's there, right?" And even as a hetero woman, that is like important to me, right?
Mhm.
And so then I went there a couple times, and then the third time I see our mutual friend Miko sitting in the pew, and I was like, aha, he is the most peaceful person I've ever met in life. He took me to brunch and told me about this woman named Rosetta Thurman who runs Happy Black Woman. And so I went to her website. She had all these affirmations and stuff. So it was really cool. And then he was like, "Oh, she's coming to town. We should go to her workshop." I bought a ticket. And as Eddie knows, I don't read the details. And I didn't realize it was about starting your own business, like launching a business is what the workshop was about. But I had already paid my money. So I was going to get my wine and my appetizers. And that night of the workshop, all the ladies asked me why I was there, and I was like, "Oh, I came here by accident." And we get to talking, and they really told me like, "Oh, what your transformation? That's something you could talk about. You could be a speaker, you could be a coach, that kind of thing. Like, you already have the blog, so go for it." And so from that night, I learned that it was something that could be turned into a business, and I think it's just to me really empowering as a Black woman to start my own business. Because we often, as Black people, always want to start a nonprofit, right? But I think financial health, that's part of self-care, right? Because if, like I said, if you overdrafting, right, you got those late fees that causes anxiety, that causes stress, all kinds of things. So I think, you know, doing this can help me help other people, but also help me work towards my own financial freedom.
That's cool. So I'll admit, I was scared shitless before putting out the Southern Gent. And it was mostly fear of the unknown. Would people want to come on the show? Would folks want to listen to what I had to say? So tell me, were you afraid before releasing Self Care by Aisha?
I wasn't, because these people that I call my family, they had me on stage from day one. So, back in the day, I used to be in beauty pageants. I had my little Diana Ross song I used to sing. "What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love." That was my voice is gone. I'm like Randy said last night, my voice is changing. My voice changed, gone in the trash, right? But back in the day, I used to be a little soloist, and so I used to sing that song. And then they put me into like a dance and performing school on the weekends. So I'm about to name drop. So Kim Fields, her mama Chip, she owned a
Yes.
that I used to go to, right? And I just think that, I just love that she opened a dance school for little Black girls, right? So it means a lot to me. And so I was doing jazz, ballet, tap. I was in orchestra for many years. So I'm used to being a performer. And so when I speak and all of that stuff, it's just like, to me, putting on a performance. So I'm like, I'm good with that. And so that's why in my public health work, I do a lot of training and things of that nature, because to me, it's just like, it's another performance. So
It's another performance.
I've been on stage since day one.
Yeah, that is definitely a place where I've had to become comfortable with, because I used to be the kid that didn't like anything, but I used to be the one that always wanted to read or do the announcements, because I wanted to be a reporter and an anchor and sit at the desk like Claudia Barr in Memphis. So that was my dream. But now you can't get me to shut up. So as everyone's self-care guru, do you sometimes feel the pressure of like onlookers? Like, do you think people have this idea that you're always going to be like Mary Poppins or something like that?
I don't think so, because I think the last Instagram live I was on, the person called me authentic, because I'm just like, this is what it is. Like, I actually don't believe in stress-free living, especially as a Black woman. Just our baseline is 2 or 3, right? It's never 0. And so I think our job is, during the days, weeks, months, it creeps up from a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, we can't always be on 8 or 9 or 10, because then Jacob Blake happens, right? And then we on the floor, we get up, we're useless, because we didn't falling apart. So I think it's even more important for people who are Black, women, gay, to practice self-care, because just our being is always under attack. We're all,
Mhm.
just in mostly subtle ways, right? It's because it's usually not something over. It's usually like, did I hear that right?
Right. Hold up.
Is that a little shady, right? Kind of thing. And the fact that we even have to like be alert to those things keeps our stress at a baseline like 3, and it's not healthy for us. So I think self care can be very whitewashed, right? Oh, that's some white people shit, but really, and
Mhm.
truly, we're the people who need it more than they do because like I said, our baseline for like a stress level is probably a 2 or a 3. It was never going to be a 0 because there's always something, they always doing something to us. So yeah, so I think it's important just because of the way the United States functions that we always are, even if we have 5 good days in a row, that doesn't mean cut it off. So, because self care is a habit, not a destination, right?
Mhm.
And so it's something that you have to continuously work on. And so I'm kind of real with people, and I do think, if I was one of, I like when it comes to like social media and stuff, like I don't do as much as I could because I feel a little self-conscious that I think people want me to look a little more glamorous or like, put on some real clothes. I think I just need to buy some better pajamas because that's all y'all gonna get is me in these pajamas, right? So because that's what it is most of the time. So I just think let me get some fancier little sets because that's really, it's a lot of lounging around here these days. So
Hello, same here. So I also wanted to ask, as someone who has like a lot of people who are close to, I have a lot of people close to me. So sometimes self-care may be the prescription that they need. How can we as onlookers who may have been asked about advice, may not have been asked about advice, how do we suggest it to these friends that we see the signs?
yeah, yeah. So part of it, I think I've had to learn is just always to model it, right? People will pick it up, if you model it, because I'm the person who can't be told what to do. So
Yeah.
I know other people are like that too. So, so I think part of it is to model it. And as I said earlier, that's what happened. I just modeled it, right? I not even modeled it, like, because that you might even think of it as performance. I just lived my life with my self care principles and values and my daily habits, and people saw the results, and so they're like, I want that too. So like people at work, they're like, Aisha seems to be, because I got demoted. Let's not talk. When I came back to work after that short term disability, I got demoted, and then I got re-promoted, and all of this stuff. And then people are like, oh, Aisha doesn't seem to be working as hard, but she seems to be climbing this little ladder. Like, can I give me some clues, right? Aisha doesn't seem to be working every weekend like I do. Like, well, how can we do that, right? I think it's like to model it. But I also think in terms of providing people that specific feedback as well, because like for me, I didn't recognize the signs, and it doesn't always have to be in the form of like um pointing it out specifically, but the way it happened to me, like one of our current coworkers, her husband, and I were working on a project together, and he just says, "Hi, Aisha, how do you work like this all the time?" And I was like, "Oh, I work this all the time." And as I'm saying to him, I'm thinking to myself, like, "You are lying? Oh my gosh, this is crazy, right?" So I think it was just his observation, more so than like, you need to quit working this hard or that kind of thing. He asked a simple question: how do you work like this all the time? And for somebody in who may have been more, more resilient or in a better place than I was at the time, they may have been able to like say what their tools were, right? Or that's the thing. So if I had some self-care that was keeping me going at that point in time, I may have been able to say, this is what I'm doing. It's like, okay, so from the outside, it looks crazy, but this person seems to know how to take care of themselves. But in that same observation for me, because I didn't have that, I was like, oh my God, he's right. This doesn't make any sense, right? And that was like the first clue. I thank him every time I see him, I'm like, thank you for that observation. So sometimes it's just like, especially when somebody that you're close to and you know that they have a goal, or like we talked about earlier, the vision, and you
Mhm.
see that they've talked to you about the vision, but they keep going hustling backwards on the vision, right? And you can tell they're tired and stressed out, and that can be like the prompt, like, well, you keep saying you want to do this thing, doesn't seem to be happening. Like, what can we do, how can we change that kind of thing,
Hmm. So, one affirmation I have on my bathroom wall is, yes, I've made mistakes. Life didn't come with instructions. So, how do you think people go about eliminating these unrealistic expectations of their life, like being perfect or, this whatever expectations they may have?
Yeah, for me, I think when we talk about the mistake piece, right? To me, I
Hmm.
just have to get to a basic level of things. So a couple of things I tell myself, I'm like, okay, so this mistake, are you going to die or get fired because of the mistake? If the answer is no, go to bed. Don't be sitting up all night going, just go to bed, right? That's the first thing. And then also because we work in public health, this is going to seem very, very harsh, but we don't work in like frontline work. We work in the back, you know, at higher levels. I'm like, well, I didn't give anyone HIV or breast cancer today because those are two projects I'm working on right now. Like I didn't harm anybody's health, right? So it is okay that like something maybe in the system was broken, but I didn't actually harm someone's health. So I think we have to put it in perspective. Like at the time, it was like, I didn't send out that tweet. That blog didn't go up. Again, that the fact that the blog didn't go up at that moment didn't stop someone from getting an HIV test in that moment, right? So I think we have to put it in perspective. And there might be people around us who make some of the things that are going on like so dire, right? And I have to realize, I had to realize it's like, is it true, right? The way I feel about this situation, is it true? And are my feelings sort of in some ways like the level of anxiety around things, is it warranted? And so I've decided what the things are that would be bad. So if I was harming people's health, then I should get it together, right? But I'm
Yeah.
not harming anyone's health, right? So I realized that okay, I'm not harming anyone's health. I'm not losing my job. No one else is losing their job, and I'm not about to die. Right now, I'm going to die eventually, but because of this little administrative bump in the road, no. So just go sleep.
Just go sleep.
Go on and lay it down, and don't be running around here typing emails, being anxious. I really had to get that cut and dry with myself because the gray zone wasn't working for me. So it was like, we alive? Is my next topic gonna hit? All right, we can work this out then.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell us about Self Care by Aisha. What services do you offer?
Yes, so I help professional women avoid or recover from burnout. Now I help men too, but as a woman, I see my services seem to resonate with women more. And the examples I use often are from my life. So I speak to everybody. I'm here with Eddie tonight, and obviously this resonates with Eddie. But my main audience is women in senior level roles because I feel like that's what I could speak to. And so I help women by making sure that they have a self-care plan. So that is my goal for everyone, to have a self-care plan. So you have thought through what your life and what it is that you need. So some of the services I provide are one, you can get your free self-care plan template. We actually redesigned it today. So it's now called the Get Serious About Self-Care Guide. And so you can get that on at selfcarebyisha.com/free gift. And that will send you the guide. So that's the first thing you can do, is just get your free guide. The next thing is I do workshops and trainings. And so I'm excited about one that is coming up on September 26th, Planting the Seeds of Self-Care. That was birthed out of the coronavirus. So I was planning this workshop for May 21st. As we know, pretty much by May 15th, everything had shut down. And so I had to revamp into a virtual environment. And it's so amazing. So the way that event works is that it's really where I share how you can stop working 12 to 14 hours a day and being overwhelmed. I talk about like 5 steps to your perfect self-care plan. And we talk about where's my camera? Why this cute little manicures? Why that is not the solution to your problems. I could have the best nails in the world, but that wasn't going to do anything for the stuff that I was experiencing, all that stress that I was under, right? So we're going to talk about that. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And we have some experiential things to the workshop as well. So it's just really fun. And then we have a paint and sip party. So I have we paint these cookies because we got to do self-care. There's your paint. And we got these little, planting the seeds of self-care. So we got your cookies. So you get a snack. So I mail you a box. You get a box of stuff, right? So I mail you a cookie, a cocktail mixer, some supplies for the workshop. You get some seeds to plant, all of this stuff you get a little box that shows up to your house with the workshop materials, right? And then we spend our time to actually practicing self-care in the moment, because a lot of people, you go to a workshop, you're on a high, you walk away, and then you don't actually practice self-care. We're going to practice self-care right then and there. The DJ comes on, we paint our cookies, we have our sips, right? So I want you to have some self-care before we end this workshop. And also, I have a sponsor for the workshop. Her name is Kimberly Harden, and she is a stylist. And so she offers a free style consultation to everyone. So after the workshop, if you want help with really, like, for that person with a cluttered, overwhelmed closet kind of thing, she can help you with that. Yeah, so you get the box to your house with all your goodies. You get the workshop. We have some fabulous speakers, so it's not just me. We have fabulous speakers in the workshop. We do some cool experiential exercises in the workshop, and then we have our sip and paint. And then you can also sign up for a style consultation afterwards. So it's a fabulous event, $49. Go to selfcarebyisha.com. So we got that. So those are two main things we have happening for Self-Care Awareness Month. So we're going to plant some seeds of self-care, and we're about to get serious about self-care.
That is awesome. I'm super excited about all the things that are going on. So that's what's next. That was going to be my next question. It's like, what's next for Self-Care by Aisha? But that is sickening. Okay.
Yeah. So get your free guide, and then once you get the free guide, then you'll get an email right after that telling you about the event. So if you don't remember the URL and all of that, just go on ahead and pop to selfcarebyisha.com and get that free guide.
Yes, selfcarebyisha.com. We can't say it enough. Go there. There's some awesome videos on there for people, awesome resources, and plenty of great stuff that you can definitely use, especially during this time. Well, I want to thank you a million times for joining me, Aisha. I've learned so much in this little time, and there were moments where I just wanted to give a little bit shout. Final thoughts for the listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I would say start today, right? Because many of us were in this coronavirus thing. So remember, it happened around mid-March. And so that's when some people were going to go on like a little mini vacation or a little spring break or something, and canceled, right? And so for many of us, we delayed working on our stress for these moments where we have these, we can get a getaway or a staycation, whatever it is. And all of that got canceled. So I want people to understand and to learn, like, start today, make it something that you do every day, so that when you get to those big moments, if they don't happen, you're like, all right, well, I was looking forward to it, but I'm good. I'm in a pretty good place. Whereas for some of us, we were like, we was at that number 10 on the scale of 1 to 10 of stressed out, and this vacation or this time off was going to be the thing, and it wasn't there, and there wasn't the mental, physical, emotional space to deal with it. And so I don't want you guys to ever be caught there again. So as the sign says, point the other way, make self-care a habit and practice it every day.
Yes, such great words. I am all here for this because you have totally blessed me tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you again.
All right. Thank you so much, Eddie. And I'll jump into the comments after this and answer some questions, tag people and some stuff. But I just really appreciate you helping me kick off Self-Care Awareness Month with this fabulous conversation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again. And a huge thank you to all of you that tuned in tonight with your thoughts. I really, really appreciate all of the love you have shown, and I'm thrilled to be bringing you more episodes. I heard y'all, and guess what? I'll be back next week. Yes, that's right. Here I am. Will now be going weekly. And next week, I'll be joined by artist and advocate Michael Lamb, also known as Miss Mikey. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at EdWiley06 and follow me on Twitter at EddieWLive. Don't forget YouTube so I can change my URL. If you want to be a guest on this season, hit me up. All right, y'all. Peace.